Hello and welcome to today's online contemplation. My name is Jessica Blackwell and I am a faith and spiritual elder in the Temple Society Australia. I'm currently sitting in the restaurant I work in, Madeline's at Gels in Gels Park in Wheelers Hill. At the moment, it's completely empty inside, the extension of the COVID lockdown preventing us to utilise our dine-in space and operate anywhere close to full capacity. The view outside is beautiful, overlooking the lake and across the grass with all the trees. I definitely appreciate where I work and am grateful for the landscape it provides. Importantly, I wish to acknowledge the Woiwurrung clans of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this service is taking place and streaming from, and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands across Australia, their elders, ancestors, cultures and heritage. Initially, this service was to be held last Sunday in Bentley, with a community afternoon following on. It almost seems surreal, yet slightly not unexpected, that we're back here again, becoming professionals at adaptation and flexibility. Although I'm still needing to practice the staying sane part. I thank you all for taking part in this process, and especially to Ange and Dan Liu for once more being able to be so apt in putting it together to be shared. I'd like to begin today with a hymn, One Family, to set the tone of our theme. Even though we're not all currently sitting together in Bentley Hall, our presence within this song will hopefully be a lovely reminder of the community we share.
One family, we're together. One family, now and ever. Sharing the sorrow we have sometimes to share. Giving our hearts to show that we care. Give me your hand and I'll love you. Open your heart and I'll find you. When faith is low, I'll show you Jesus as your friend. When times are good, I will lean on you. One in the faith that unites us. One in the Lord who has saved us. One in the hope of life with Jesus our King. One family, together we stay evermore.
The theme for today directs us into how we should help people where we can and to not compare ourselves to others by exploring our sense of self and creating positive identity-based habits. Our text comes from Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 to 10 and reads as follows. My friends, you are spiritual. So if someone is trapped in sin, you should gently lead that person back to the right path. But watch out and don't be tempted yourself. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If you think you are better than others, when you really aren't, you are wrong. Do your own work well, and then you will have something to be proud of, but don't compare yourselves with others. We each must carry our own load. Share every good thing you have with anyone who teaches you what God has said. You can't fool God, so don't make a fool of yourself. You will harvest what you plant. If you follow your selfish desires, you will harvest destruction. But if you follow the Spirit, you will harvest eternal life. Don't get tired of helping others. You will be rewarded when the time is right if you don't give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. There is quite a bit of content in those verses. A number of small reminders, effectively the do's and don'ts that one can carry with them throughout their day. Being present in what our day beholds and how it unfolds around us, incorporating the people we interact with, places we visit, and our external surroundings, allows us to constantly be in check with our thoughts, feelings, and behaviour. Help people along the path of righteousness, but don't get tempted yourself. Carry each other's burdens, but don't compare yourself with others. Be responsible in carrying our own load where we can, but be sure to share the goodness with others. You will get back what you put out and be rewarded when the time is right, provided you don't give up or get tired of helping others. That may be an oversimplification of the text I just read, but it also may help you understand and interpret a meaning you can respond to within that. Ultimately, the last verse is still a reminder to do good to all people. Doing good to all people, all day, every day, sounds easy in theory. I am a good person, you are all good people. How hard can it be? Not very, provided you follow the guidelines that have just been laid out for us. But we are humans, flawed within our own humanity in overthinking, becoming over-emotional, being irrational and impulsive. If we are able to recognize those traits in others, then we are more capable in recognizing those traits within ourselves also. This then becomes our opportunity to learn, grow, and flourish in life. I was lucky enough to go on my much needed and well-earned annual leave trip exactly in between lockdowns last week to Meetung, about 20 minutes out of Lakes Entrance. Apart from being the most picturesque and tranquil little lakeside sleepy town village, that's a lot of descriptive words right there, it also provided me the opportunity to take a step back from and completely out of my usual and quite hectic routine. After being encouraged to look closer within myself in order to explore my identity and direction in life, I began to become more aware of the present moment I was living in and how my thoughts, feelings, and behaviour to that could impact the scene. Being able to amble along the foreshore boardwalk gave me opportunity to focus on my breath and how that felt within my body. Not having a limitation of what time a meal needed to be ready by gave me the chance to pour love and generosity into my cooking. Listening to podcasts about themes I wouldn't normally pick up allowed me insight to how my mind interpreted new information. Effectively, I wholeheartedly opened and poured my soul into the loving space I had created on this one-week adventure. I am very grateful to have had that opportunity to do such a cool thing. The challenge for me now is to continue observing and being present in all moments of the day as I now embark on the routine of me coming back to work and normal home life. I am attempting this with love for myself, letting my light shine outward and giving love to everyone around me. The invitation I put forward to each and every one of you is to allow yourself the opportunity to create such a thing within yourself and your own environment. I would like to take this moment now to sing our next hymn, That We May Love, a chance to reflect the impact that our presence can have on those around us, whether negative or positive, depending on how we show up to these moments.
Eternal God, your will demands we love the people of all lands, for in each person we can trace the image of your human face. We ask for insight, skill, struggles facing humankind. Forgive us, Lord, whenever we are dulled by pride and apathy. Your love alone can stir our wills to fight the world's unbounded ills. May Christian people never cease their work for justice, truth, and peace. This global village we call Earth, replete with folk of equal worth, as pressing need forever near, as millions live with death and fear. Break down the walls that separate, root out the causes of our hate. Where hunger, pain, and want are known, and keep the poor crushed firmly down. Please grant us energy to seek a system to protect the weak. Implant in us a deep concern for old and young to live and learn. May that great love of yours be ours, your Spirit brace us with new powers, until these lives we have on loan reflect the purpose you have shown. Because you loved us first, we dare each other's loads to lift and bear.
Travelling back to our text, I'd like to acknowledge that it can be a relatively difficult task to walk the fine line between helping those find their way without being tempted to wander off our own path. After all, we are only human and we do make mistakes. If we are able to forgive others those mistakes and help them to learn from them, then we too can do that for ourselves. As our world evolves around us, we too need to flourish and continually redefine our purpose to be able to keep up. So how does one do that? I'm going to attempt to use the concept of identity-based habits to explore this. Enter Ikigai, spelt I-K-I-G-A-I. The age-old Japanese ideology that's long been associated with the nation's long life expectancy. A combination of the Japanese words iki, which translates to life, and gai, which is used to describe value or worth, and comes from the word kai, translating to shell. Ikigai is all about finding joy in life through seeking a purpose in everything you do. In other words, your Ikigai is what gets you up every morning, out of your shell, and keeps you going. Ikigai is interchangeable and unique to every individual, acknowledging that the idea of happiness is actually quite elusive. Ikigai as a concept is able to develop as you do. If one path of purpose ceases to exist, you can adapt, change, and pursue new passions with purpose. Ikigai makes room for this. As humans, we are so often our own worst enemies. We compare ourselves to others, and when we see those around us apparently doing better than ourselves, we can feel like failures. We quickly forget what we are working towards and dismiss the journey we're on. This is where I think Ikigai can serve true value. If we follow the ideas of Ikigai, then we're drawn back to ourselves, to our own purpose, and the path that we're taking to get there. Ikigai is as much about changes, challenges, and the mistakes we may make as it is about the ultimate achievement of a happy life. On the screen in front of you, you can see what a typical Ikigai looks like. A bit daunting, yes, but once you allow your imagination to think freely, it can turn into quite a beautiful exercise. You start by writing down about 10 or 15 things you do in a week, and then placing them in the 4 categories around the outside of the diagram. What you are good at, what you can be paid for, what the world needs, and what you love. You then work inwardly from there, using the prompts to allow freedom of thought. Ultimately, what you come up with in the center is your Ikigai. Of course, this exercise may not be for everyone. It also may take hours or days to complete one. Working on it in your own time to create what is essentially some form of direction in life is what makes it the beautiful experience. If you would like more information on it, or even someone to explore it with, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to take part. A habit is defined as a routine or practice performed regularly. In other words, an automatic response to a specific situation. When entering an unknown situation, your brain immediately starts looking at how to solve the situations using the most effective course of action. Occasionally, you'll stumble across the solution by exploring and then finding an unexpected reward. You then alter your strategy for next time, and your brain catalogues the events that preceded the reward. This is the feedback loop behind all human behavior. Try, fail, learn, try differently. With practice, the useless movements fade away and the useful actions get reinforcement. Therefore, your habits are just a series of automatic solutions that solve the problems and stresses you face regularly. A book I have been reading called Atomic Habits by James Clear has delved into a whole world of how habits are formed, how you can wield them to dictate direction in life, how to change them, and how your identity can influence them. I'd like to share some of the knowledge I have gained from reading this book. Essentially, there isn't such a thing as bad or good habits. They are just effective or ineffective habits. How you interact with the space around you and how you have a relationship with each object in that space varies according to the individual. Becoming the environmental designer allows you to take charge to be the architect of your life, rather than a consumer of your habits. A stable environment where everything has a place and purpose is an environment where habits can easily form. It has been said that you can break a bad habit, but you are unlikely to forget it. It's nearly impossible to remove from the brain entirely. Therefore, resisting temptation becomes an ineffective way to break a habit. It's only a temporary band-aid. On the flip side, ultimately, you need to remove the cues that trigger the ineffective habit. On the flip side, the easiest way to create a new habit is to stack it on top of something you already take joy in doing. For instance, I'd like to walk more often in the evenings. After I work, I come home and listen to a podcast. Rather than sit in my house to do that, I will walk for the 20 minutes that it runs for, therefore creating a new habit of walking whilst already partaking in the current habit of listening to a podcast. Effective habits are not about having something, rather they're about becoming someone. So when new situations arise with an opportunity to create a habit, you can ask yourself, does this habit help me become the person I want to be? This is when your perception of your identity plays a poignant role in what habits you are or are not creating. What you do is an indication of the type of person you believe you are. either consciously or non-consciously. Identifying as someone who practices that certain habit has far more value than trying to create a habit without identity. For example, saying, I am a reader, rather than I want to read more books, already has a positive connotation that you are already capable of doing what you are trying to achieve. In creating a new habit, people can often get fixated on the goal they have set themselves, rather than the journey that is available to them in getting there. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to that result. Falling in love with the process and not the result allows you to edit your beliefs to upgrade and expand your identity. An excerpt from the recent Templar Reflections article on identity-based habits can allow more insight. If you don't even believe you're the kind of person you can achieve the goals you have, then no amount of reading them aloud daily or any other recommended practice is going to inspire you to take action. If you want to learn how to commit to your goals in the long term, you have to develop an identity that drives the behaviours you need to achieve them. In other words, creating a system to put in place. Your identity is who you are. This is not to be left to other people's judgments, it's to be left to your own. You're not defined by your appearance, your job description, or your past. In any moment, you can redefine who you are. This can be done by A, defining who you want to be. I'm a musician. Or B, taking action and creating reference points that justify your new belief. I am a musician because I practice every day. When we think of taking action, we often think of it having to be big, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, the smaller the better. Why? Because small actions don't intimidate us to start and therefore are easier to do consistently. When you consistently take action, you create more momentum and it's easier to move towards your goals. It's common to define who you are by saying, I am. If you look at any I am preface you use to describe who you are, it will often connotate a lot about what you do as well. A good rule of thumb is to use is 1, associate I am prefaces to positive behaviour you want, and 2, disassociate I am prefaces from negative behaviours you don't want. For example, if your goal is to run a marathon, I am a runner, therefore I run, is better than I am training to run a marathon, therefore I have to run. Notice how have to makes it sound like a chore. When a behaviour is linked to your identity, it drives your behaviour. Conversely, if your goal is to learn how to break a bad habit and replace it with a better one, it's better to disidentify with a negative behaviour. For example, the last diet I tried failed is better than the last diet I tried failed, therefore I am a failure. To practice becoming more present within the moment, try becoming aware of all the habits you are partaking in every day. Are they effective habits? How do you identify with them? What measures could you put in place to change what you're not quite happy with? A slight change in daily habits can lead your life in a different direction. 1% better or worse each day may seem insignificant by itself, but over time and over the course of your life, that could be the difference of who you currently are or could be. Please join me in reflection with a prayer from Munich. God bless our contradictions, those parts of us which seem out of character. Let us be boldly and gladly out of character. Let us be creatures of paradox and variety, creatures of contrast, of light and shade, creatures of faith. God be our constant. Let us step out of character into the unknown to struggle and love and do what we will. Amen. Just before we play our last hymn, the Butterfly Song, I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I'd also like to thank Monica Strasser for both her beautiful accompaniment and singing, and also both Ange and Dan Liu once more for their collaborated effort in making this recording come together. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Once there was a caterpillar living in a shell, happy to be in a place where everything went well. No one to bother him, no other worms to see. Locked up in his dark cocoon, he thought that he was free. Hey, little worm, don't you see? Only butterflies are free. Come out of your shell and fly with me. Only butterflies are free. Something took that caterpillar as he slept one day, woke him up and gave him wings and helped him fly away. People too can live in shells, afraid of being free. But whatever change that fearful worm can change both you and me. Hey, little worm, don't you see? Only butterflies are free. Come out of your shell